Just want to say, like, thank you, because, like, you were a massive part of the entire journey for me. And
Are you dating now?
Absolutely not.
You're not dating right now?
What do you want from me?
What do I want from you?
Yeah.
Meet the family is always a bit strange. Well, it's always dramatic. And I'm pleasantly surprised that this wasn't as dramatic as I expected it to be. Outside of the fact that you had Billy's dad make that comment about cabin crew, or the comment that was made by Bardha's friend, or even Javen's sister, it wasn't really as toxic as they normally can be. And then Pod Squad meetups, I like them. I really do, because they show you who actually had connections in the pods, or who people had connections with that production didn't show us. And so I am side-eyeing production because we got to see connections that we didn't know existed. Aanu and Javen, where did that come from? Sophie and Javen, where did that come from? And this man, the audacity to disrespect his partner and flirt with other girls in front of his partner doesn't make sense to me. When you have someone like Kieran actually walk across to his partner and tell her, I want you to know I'm going to pull Sophie for a chat. This is what we're going to discuss, and I hope you're okay with it. Why couldn't he afford his partner the same respect? Javen, he's been there just to be on TV and to be the villain. That's the impression that I get. For him to have a conversation with Demola and try and pretend like he wasn't at fault for, this woman changing her mind is shocking. It really is shocking. Anyway, hey there. Thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love is Blind UK Season 2 Episode 7. I just want to say thank you to the person in the comments who was correcting me. I was saying Bardha for Bardha. I don't know where I got the R from. Anyway, so we have Bardha and Jed having a conversation in preparation for her friends or his friends. So all they talk about is friends, so we don't know who's coming, but it seems their friends coming to meet them and sort of give their opinions about their connection. And it's like, is production looking for toxicity because there hasn't been anything that's been a red flag? What is it? At times side-eye people who want to give opinions about someone's relationship, because whether or not you give a positive or a negative opinion, if someone is going to listen to you, they're going to listen. If they're not, they're not. So what's the point? Allow them to sort of deal with their hot mess. Sarova and Carl, they're just getting ready. It's first thing in the morning, so he's making the drinks. You have Katisha on her way to Javen's place because she's going to see his house. And with Ashley and Billy, I think there's still tension from the shopping list because she's in the bedroom, he's in the kitchen, he's watering his flowers, and it seems there's some sort of tension there and it needs to be sorted out. We then have Megan and Kieran. They go to Blackpool because, they are going to practice for their wedding dance. And we've heard couples say, or I've heard previously couples say that they've practiced for their first dance on their wedding day, but we never get to see it. So for Kieran and Megan to do that, I don't know whether it's because there was nothing else for production to pick apart. It was really cute the way they were dancing and the fact that he's all in. One thing about Kieran and Megan is they're going to be all in whatever they're doing, cooking, cleaning, whatever it is they're doing, they're going to be all in and they're going to be cheering for one another, which I think is the cutest thing ever. Finally, Ashley and Billy sat down to have a conversation about the shopping thing, because Ashley is saying she's feeling overwhelmed about the whole situation in the sense that she doesn't seem too happy with the way he reacted about the shopping list. He says he's very regimented because of his work, and so this is something that he is constantly having to deal with because there are certain standards that he's setting for the people that he works with, and so he doesn't want to sort of falter from that. And it's like he could have had this conversation with her away from the cameras before they went shopping. It didn't need to be that tense for him to be sort of calling her out in every single thing that she touched in the supermarket. I don't think that was necessary. I think he could have easily told her, okay, when we go, we need to do a healthy shop just because the people that I teach are going to see this, and I don't want it, to negatively impact how or their perception or their view of me. That would have made sense instead of him saying no chocolates, no cake, no this, no that, no that. And so I think when he realized that, and she told him a story that I was very skinny when I grew up, and so a lot of people teased me because I was very skinny, so I had to eat to bulk myself out. So now you saying this sort of affects me in the sense that I now start to question food, and it's like he doesn't want to give her an eating disorder. at the end of the day, because psychologically she'll be affected by every single thing that she touches, because she's going to question, will he approve of this? Will he disapprove of that? Will he approve? So I get where she's coming from. And I think seeing that sort of made him question himself, because he said, I don't want this to affect you mentally. I want us to compromise. Do I think they'll compromise? No, I don't think so. I think their compromise should have started when they were talking about groundwork and being in the army initially in the pods. They should have discussed how that would look, because she sort of compromised, but he didn't. And I've said this all along, that he doesn't seem like someone who's willing to compromise. So it's going to be hard work for them to overcome that. We finally get to meet Bardha's friend, Olivia. I don't know how to feel about Olivia coming. I really don't. Because one, yes, it's good for her friend to meet her partner, especially if she's going to be a part of the wedding. But there's a way of meeting the partner without sort of minimizing a connection or appearing disrespectful. And so for me, I felt it was bordering on the edge of disrespect because of the way she sort of hunted this man down. Why did you pick her? What in particular about it did you like that made you pick her? And it's like, you don't need to be that nitpicky. Have a conversation with him. See how you feel in just general conversation. And then from there, have a conversation with your friend if you're concerned, instead of you having to sort of have this sort of tense, sort of confrontational situation. And kudos to Jed, because he really handled that like a pro. I would have expected him to be combative, but he actually was very open, and he sort of let Bardha lead that situation. They were asked, have you guys argued? They said no. The friend is saying it's a red flag. I've seen her in very good relationships, and then things have gone south suddenly. They have had disagreements. I would want to believe that, especially this thing of him wanting to be in charge and her wanting to be in charge. I would assume things haven't always gone right. And so for the friend to say it's a red flag that they haven't argued, no, maybe their communication is just amazing. Yes, they're still meeting each other as representatives, but that's not enough for you to say they need to break up. I didn't like it. Unless we only got to see the tense parts and we didn't get to see the other side. The conversation between Carl and Sarova was a bit eye-opening. It was missing a lot of nuance, a lot of sort of fleshing out, because it seems she received a message from her mum. Her mum is saying that, she didn't sign up for the show. Yes, Sarova signed up for the show, but the mum didn't sign up for the show, so she feels some type of way. Sarova is now saying, I've always been the one that's followed the rules, and so now because I'm not following the rules, my mum feels some type of way. And it's like, it's understandable, but let us know what happened. Don't just have them have a conversation that's just very superficial. I don't know whether it's because Sarova doesn't want her mum sort of to get backlash from the viewers or whatever exactly took place. I wish we'd got to know more about exactly what the conversation was. And then the situation with Javen and Katisha, well, they got to his place. I thought it was a cute house. It looked like a bachelor pad, even though it was bigger than what we would consider technically a bachelor pad. And production is messy, because they showed us a clip of them going in, and then they actually went out and showed us a clip of the whole house. And it's like, yeah, it looks amazing. It looks amazing, but you really don't need to do that. They went through his house. It looked very clean for a bachelor. Our home visits always remind me of Jeff T. If you've watched Married at First Sight US, then you know who Jeff T is. And so they were having conversation about the apartments. And then you had Katisha sort of say that, they really need to work hard on communication. And it's like, madam, you had someone who gave you everything you wanted, but you refused because you wanted someone where you'd have to work hard to earn his love. So you have to do it, and you have to be willing to do that. And sadly for me, it seems like Javen is still trying to leave the door open, because every time she says something, he has to sort of open an escape route. He doesn't want to sort of cement himself down. I think he knows he's just doing this to be on TV, because she spoke about the fact that, I can actually see myself living here, being comfortable. And he said, well, that's if we say yes on wedding day. And it's like, oh my God. So this man is looking for a way out, and she can't see it. She is making all these plans, and he is looking for a way out. She spoke about their schedules and wanting to coordinate their schedules. That way they could spend time together, have meals together. And he was saying, no, I can't do that because I have work, and at times I finish very late. And then she said, well, at times I finish late as well because I have to go and work out, and then I have to come come home and said, well, I'll be in bed at 10. I eat at 9:30 and then I'm in bed by 10. And it's like, seriously, how? How do you eat 9:30 and you're in bed by 10? You still need to wash up, you still need to shower, and then get ready for bed. Make that make sense? I can see them breaking up. Oh, Kieran and Megan are very cute because you have them sit down for their tea. Obviously, they have the little trolley with snacks and stuff. They're busy teasing each other about what they're putting on their snacks and how this is going to end them. What I love is, unlike with Katisha and Javen, where there's sort of questions in regards whether they're going to say yes or no, or whether they are ready for marriage. You have two people saying, I am ready to say yes, I am ready for marriage. And it's like, why can't Katisha see what's happening around her and realize that this man is not it for her? Why does she need to keep going with this man when there's nothing there? They had a conversation about not wanting things to change. And I sort of understand where they're coming from, because one thing about Kieran and Megan is whatever they're doing or whatever their partner is doing, they're going to be happy with it. They're going to cheer them on. They're going to, ask them, how can I help you to achieve what you're trying to do? Which is amazing, which is what you want in a partner. You don't want someone who's nitpicky. You want someone who sees where your shortcomings are and is willing to step in and sort of help you sort of measure up to where you want to get to. So I really love that. I thought they were the cutest ever. Kieran was saying, I hope if we get married, nothing changes between the two of us. In 20, 30 years, we're still as goofy as we are. We're still as playful as we are, even if we have children. They spoke about their children and, them having red hair and dimples. I thought it was the cutest thing. I really loved it. We then have Javen and Katisha welcome his mom and sister, and they brought his cat. Oh my God, I would have jumped out the door. I can't deal with cats. I'm not a cat person, really. I'm not a cat person. Okay, I nearly jumped out of my skin at that. They both seemed, his mom seemed very excited to see her son. But the sister, you could tell the mom must have had conversations with her before they came in. So they came in, sat down. Apparently, they had already prepared the meal. So it seems like they brought the food and then they sat down. They started having a conversation. And he is saying he's very close to his mom. There was a bit of teasing, but you could tell his sister was not happy. And then eventually she said she's been engaged for 18 months. And she's not yet ready to get married. So she doesn't understand how people who've been engaged for 2 weeks are already ready to get married. And I think her mom was kicking her under the table because she wasn't happy at all. And the mom was now looking uncomfortable because she could tell that this conversation might go left. And, they questioned, what is it in particular that you like about the other, or what drew you to one another? And Katisha was saying, we share the same values. We are both close with our families. And it's like, there's more to it. And then she did bring, we're still working on our communication. So I don't know whether production gave a cue for the mom and Javen to leave. And then Katisha was left with the sister. And the sister was saying, she more or less said, my brother is selfish. He's very self-centered. So I don't get why you're saying you're ready to marry this man because he's not ready to get married. Well, that was what I got by reading in between the lines. And I'm happy that she told Katisha the truth, that you're a very good looking girl, but more or less, this is not the guy for you. He's not ready for marriage. But she also brought up the fact that the problem with him is he's difficult to read. You can never tell when he's happy or when he's upset. He's always smiling, so you don't know whether he's angry or not. He's very serious about certain things. They brought up the issue that he had these injuries, when he was playing football, and it seemed he suffered from some sort of depression. So Katisha needed to have learned her lesson. I'm surprised she's still going. I'm surprised that she still wants to continue to give this relationship a go, because at some point she should have lifted her hands up and said, I'm done. Am I the only one who's pleasantly surprised that Billy's dad brought his dog instead of bringing another family member? I don't quite get it. Did Billy want, Ashley to meet his dad away from all the other family members, or did the other family members say no? The dad comes through with the dog. Billy's excited to see his dog. They sit down for a conversation and he's sort of asking, what do you do for a living? She said she's flight crew, and the dad is taken aback because apparently it seemed Billy had told his dad that if the girl that I find is cabin crew, then I'm on the next, train out. And it's like, he knew she was flight crew. Why didn't he leave? Why did he allow her to convince him? Because we all remember Ashley promising to change her job, to change her schedule, to accommodate this man. So it's nothing new. Ashley shouldn't be taken aback because this is something she knew going into the relationship. This was brought up. She begged him. She gave him the alternatives that she could take, and he agreed to it. And so he proposed. So this is nothing new. We all shouldn't be surprised. We should all take it for what it is. The dad then asks if they've clashed over anything. It comes up that they've clashed on about food and their outlook or their relationship with food. And it's like, there's more to this relationship. There are so many red flags or orange flags in this relationship that they need to do a lot of work before they can walk down the aisle. And I don't see them saying, I do. Yes, you had Billy trying to put his best foot forward, trying to say, oh, yes, we did talk about it and we're able to reach a compromise. We're going to compromise. And it's like, no, this woman is doing all the compromising. You are just there enjoying life as is. So don't pretend like, things have changed when we all know they haven't. So the couples get ready for a mixer. There is a pod squad mixer, and Love is Blind does this. It doesn't matter the country. They do a mixer for the pod squad where people are meant to sort of meet their ex-partner or someone they explore the connection with in the pods, and the love triangles are addressed and new drama picks up. And I think because there hasn't been any toxicity or that much toxicity, this is why they wanted this to take place. And so you have Bardha and Jed having a conversation and sort of asking each other, who do you think is going to be part of the drama? And so they bring up Sophie and Kieran. I don't think Kieran is that phased about Sophie. She could be the most beautiful woman in the world. I don't think he would be phased because it seems he is happy in his couple with Megan. So his eyes or his head won't turn. All the couples get ready and they come to the event. You have them walking in their pairs first. They get to meet and sort of have a toast because, it's just them, the couples that have proposed and are there to be married. And it's like, oh my God, this is going to be a hot mess. You then have Kieran and Javen have a conversation. And so Javen is asking Kieran, are you ready to get married? And Kieran is saying, yes, I am ready to get married. You have Javen ask, would you marry someone if you weren't in love or if you hadn't said I love you? Kieran was like, no. But do you see your life with that person? And Kieran said, yes, I do see my life with Megan. And you have Javen say, oh, I see my life with her, but I don't think I'm ready to I don't think I'm ready to say I love you. I agree with Kieran. How can you say you're ready to spend the rest of your life with someone you don't love? Are you ready to spend your life with them as what? As housemates or what? Because it doesn't make sense. I really don't get it and I don't understand it. And it's like this man is trying to look for an out. He's trying to drop red flags along the way. That way when he says no on wedding day, no one is surprised because whatever he's saying doesn't make sense to the likes of me, or maybe that's just me. I do not get it. You have the girls having a conversation on their part. Megan is sitting with Sarova and Katisha, and she's saying, Sarova is saying her mom is overwhelmed. She doesn't understand how her daughter is getting married, and she is not a part of the wedding preparation because she would have wanted to be a part of that. The girls asked Sarova, is your mom normally like that? And she said, no, this is something new. So I really don't know where this has come from because this is not something that I would normally have expected. And it's like, oh, this is going to be a hot mess. While the guys are chatting, you have, Katisha go over to Javen and Kieran and sort of ask, what are you talking about? And Javen is just sitting there and it's like, because he knows what he's saying is wrong, so he's going to pretend like there's nothing wrong when he knows that he's in the wrong. And so you had Kieran having to cover up for him. Billy and Carl had a conversation with Billy saying he's worried about their schedules and how that will align. And it's like, it's not that deep. It's not that deep. If you're willing to compromise and if you're willing to prioritize your partner, then that's it. That's the most important thing. So you have the pod squad walk in. Patrick was the very first person to walk in. He was followed by Aanu. Aanu greeted everyone except for Patrick, and she really wanted to create a scene. I think she came there wanting to be center of attention, or she must have been wound up by production. They must have got her fired up and ready to go because she refused a hug with him. And she then, in her confessional, said, oh, he's underwhelming. And it's like, so who said you are the prize? I don't get it. It didn't match well, or you didn't match well. There's no need for you to bring down somebody else. I don't think that was necessary. The girls had a conversation with Aanu and were saying to her, yes, Patrick made you feel some type of way, but at least have a conversation so that you get closure. and then the two of you can move on. So she was sort of thinking of what to do. And then she started having this conversation with Javen. I didn't realize that Aanu and Javen had a connection. Maybe it's just me. Because they're busy saying, oh, maybe we should have dated for a bit longer now that we're seeing each other. You're a very good looking person. And just like, oh my God, what did we miss? When did they develop a connection? Or is there something else we were supposed to have been shown that we didn't get shown? Because it doesn't make sense. I assumed that Anu's only connection was with Patrick, and that's why she was pursuing that. So the idea that suddenly she is asking somebody else that we should have dated for longer doesn't make sense. You then have this guy, Charlie, walking. I don't remember him. He's followed by Yolanda. Yolanda is then followed by Ross and Demola. Demola looks cute. He really did. And he was better dressed than he was the first time that he came in. He goes to greet everyone. We're actually showing him hugging Katisha. He's always got a soft spot for Katisha. I think for him, he really, really liked her and was really smitten and could see a future with her. And because he even gave her a double hug, and I think she saw a different side of him because he looked way better than he did in the clothes that he came to the little event wearing. So I loved that. He then sat down for a conversation with Javen, and I was partly side-eyeing, Demola, because I think he's still hurt. He really is still hurt because he was saying, I question her changing her mind within 24 hours. The fact that she was ready to go with me and then suddenly she changed her mind. I don't get it. He then asked, Javen, are you ready to get married? Especially if she's going to change her mind at the last minute. And it's like, Demola, hopefully watching the show makes him understand that this woman really wanted him. This woman had broken up with Javen, because I don't think anyone else knew that she had actually broken up with Javen. But Javen was able to entice her and sort of keep her hooked because he knew she really liked her. He fed her enough to keep her interested, and this is why she broke up with Demola. I don't think anyone else knew that. So hopefully this opens, a different side and allows him to see exactly what took place. Sophie then walks in, and the moment Sophie walked in, everybody's heads turned. The guys were taken aback. Then you started having people asking. Kieran was asking in his confessional, do you think Sophie looks attractive? He said, yeah, but he didn't look fazed. It's not like he was drooling over her. He just said she's a beautiful girl. She's someone I would stop on a night out. So there's nothing new there, which I really loved. You then had Sophie greet all the guys, and from the guys she went to the girls, and she was being asked, do you know who is who? She said, no, I don't. She was then introduced to the guys, and she was shown who was Kieran. And the audacity to say, Megan, why did you allow him to wear that jacket? Good for Megan for saying, because Megan is secure in herself, and she said, I'm not going to allow Sophie to make me question my connection, because that has nothing to do with me. I'm not going to allow her to say anything that's going to make me question my man. He's my man. I'm happy with my man, and that is it. And I love it for her. I really do. Seeing Yolanda have a conversation with Javen for me didn't make sense, because she asked him, are you ready for marriage? And he said he couldn't answer her. And I think this is what the girls were picking up on, because she's not the first person to ask him. Aanu asked him the same thing, and he didn't quite answer. It was something more or less along the same line. Sophie asked him something more or less along the same line, and he still didn't answer. So I don't get how Katisha didn't see that this man wasn't her man. I really don't. Finally, Aanu pulled Patrick for a chat. She was upset. She felt he should have checked in on her once they left the pods. He didn't, check in on her. She feels some type of way that he cut her experience short. And it's like, madam, you could have broken things off with him. You didn't need to wait around for him to decide what he wanted to do with you. So for you to throw a fit that, why did you waste my time? What did you want him to do? He was telling you that he's using his spleen. For everyone else in the background to be mocking his spleen, this was a common theme amongst everyone, the way they were mocking him and his spleen. It was just like, please don't. I feel like Aanu overreacted. I'm going to say it. She overreacted. There was no need for that. There was no need for the singing, for the whatever. She should have just come in, sat down with him. The way Kieran handled the situation, should have just told him, I am devastated that you led me on, and this is what you did. There was no, you're a lawyer. That all wasn't necessary. Yes, she was hurt, but that wasn't necessary. And to have everyone else now entertained by that, I didn't get it. I really didn't get it, and I didn't understand it. And for her to call out, oh, your do-rag is silly, that wasn't necessary. There was no need to go below the belt. Because now it means that you still have feelings. You've already said he's underwhelming. So if he's underwhelming, why are you worried about what he's wearing? That has nothing to do with you. He's not your man, so please keep it stepping. while all that was taking place, you then had Kieran walk over to his woman, to Megan. She was sitting with Sarov and Katisha, and he sort of just said to her, I feel I need to have a conversation with Sophie, so I just want you to know that I'm going to have a conversation with her just to get closure. And she said, okay, that's good. The fact that she was so relaxed about it, it tells me that Kieran is really giving her reassurance, and she can tell that, this man really likes her. So he then pulled Sophie for a chat, and he said, thank you for being a part of my journey. I am sorry. I understand how it might look, the fact that I gave, Megan a present before we had sort of finalized things. So I want to apologize for that. It was the sweetest thing ever. You'd be very proud of him, because at least he handled his business like a grown man, unlike the other guys in the situation. So I really love that for him, that he was very open, and he was honest with his partner before he said anything, which was really good. The good thing was, at least, he was able to do that respectfully without disrespecting his partner. They gave each other a cutesy little hug, and then he went back to his partner, Megan, and Sophie went to the girls. She went over to Sarova and Katisha, and he went to Megan. And he was saying to Megan, it's over, it's done with. I felt I needed to apologize. Megan was on board with it. She said, I have no need to question you, which I really like, because, he's given her all the reassurance that she needs, so there was no need for that. For Sophie to go and tell the girls that, he needed the closure more than me, I don't think so. I don't think so. You thought him seeing you would make him feel some type of way that he had lost, and sadly he's shown you that he didn't lose and he doesn't care. And so this is why you feel some type of way. You then had Sophie sort of chatting with the girls, and she's pulled for a chat by Javen. And it's like, Javen, why are you pulling Sophie for a chat? You haven't even spoken to your partner since the moment you walked in, and you've been pulling ladies left, right, and center as though you're at a mixer. Make that make sense? Anyway, they're sort of having this conversation, and she's asking, are you happy? And he sort of is not making any sense. This is the thing. Javen was just making facial expressions. Every time he was asked, he'd make facial expressions. He was asked, did you make the right choice for you? He still wouldn't own up and say yes or no. He then asked Sophie, are you dating? Where do you live? And it's like, this man is here to enjoy himself. This man is here to have an amazing time. He's not here with his partner. Or the way he behaved was not like someone who was there with his partner. It looked like someone who was looking for a date, or like someone who was looking to pick someone at a singles mixer. That's the impression that I got. So sadly for him, or sadly for Katisha, this is the man she chose. So for him to go from that chat with Sophie, and then we see them an hour later in the apartment with Katisha asking him, how was your chat with Sophie, doesn't make sense. Given the fact that Katisha was sitting there when Kieran came and asked Megan to have a chat with Sophie, had a chat with Sophie, and then came back immediately to his partner to update. Her man didn't even tell her he was chatting with Sophie, let alone update her about what the chat was about. She was then upset. She was sitting in the living room. She was crying. He picked up his bag. He picked up his coat after calling somebody, we don't even know who, and he was busy asking, shall I come there? And they must have said, yes, come. And off he went, leaving his partner crying. Ladies, let this be a teachable moment, that at times what we think is best for us is not always best for us.